I can't explain myself, because I'm not myself. She's the queen of outrageous and bizarre images, the most charming villain in the world of cinema, a real English lady. She's trusted with the roles of psychopaths, neurotics, thieves, and maniacs, and they are unsurpassed in her performance. Even those who are not familiar with the actress's filmography have definitely seen her characters. For more than a decade, she was the muse of her common-law husband, Tim Burton. Starring in his projects, there were rumors that a secret underground tunnel had been dug between their houses. Helena Bonham Carter is a British actress who conquered Hollywood with her spontaneity and eccentricity. But what is the real one? Why is the actress called the Corset Queen? How did she earn a reputation as a homewrecker? And what made Burton and Carter end their 13-year relationship? You'll learn about much more about this from today's video on the Biographer channel. So, get comfortable and we'll start. Helena Bonham Carter was born in Islington, London on May 26, 1966. She comes from one of the most famous political families in England. Her father, Raymond Bonham Carter, was a merchant banker. Her great-grandfather was the Liberal Prime Minister Lord Asquith, and her grandmother was Lady Violet Bonham Carter, a well-known politician, orator, and member of the House of Lords. Her mother, Helena, née Proper de Calonne, was a psychotherapist. Her maternal grandmother was the Spanish ambassador to the United States, Canada, and Norway. If desired, Helena could develop family ties and realize herself in any of the spheres, but she chose art. When the girl was 5 years old, her mother had a serious nervous breakdown due to the death of her own father. It took the woman 3 years to recover. Then her therapist advised her to work with herself as a patient, and that saved her. After that, Helena began to be interested in psychology, and her own experience of fighting the disease inspired her to embark on the path of psychotherapy. When Helena became an actress, she paid her mother to read her scripts and express her thoughts about the psychological motives of the characters. And then she guided me, the actress adds. Even at the age of 6, Helena began to think about an acting career. This decision was largely influenced by a family friend who was in the business and often described all the subtleties and advantages of the profession. Of course, the parents tried to give the girl the best education in the country. Bonham Carter graduated from South Hampstead High School for girls, and then she went to Westminster School. It is, in fact, the only long-established school to remain on its original site in the center of London. The school's origins can be traced to a charity school established by the Benedictine monks of Westminster Abbey. Its continuous existence is certain from the early 14th century. I was very underconfident at 11, so when I went to senior school, I thought, this is the time you can reinvent yourself, and if you project a different self, people will believe in that. Indeed, at the age of 11, Helena began to change. The girl eradicated her own insecurities and childish complexes by participating in various school activities. At that time, she won a poetry competition by reading her own poem. The amount received from the organizers was very useful. The first professional portfolio for an acting career was ordered with this money. Helena's parents supported their daughter in everything. I've got lots. I was lucky. My biggest privilege was having 2 good parents. Even if I was hard on myself, I know my parents believed in me 100% and were supportive of whatever I wanted to do. According to the actress, they had a wonderful sense of humor and a liberal upbringing, so the children were not forced to choose a life path. In addition, their family was far from traditional values because Helena's dad was not the patriarch of the family, but her mother was its soul. Being half French, half Spanish, she did not lead a household that was familiar at that time. Carter resembled her mother in many ways and tried to imitate her in everything. 5 years after Helena's mother recovered from her mental disorder, her father was diagnosed with acoustic neuroma, a benign brain tumor. After learning about this, Raymond decided to have an operation to remove it. Unfortunately for the whole family, something went wrong and he suffered a stroke. As a result, the man remained semi-paralyzed. This meant that he had to use a wheelchair for the rest of his life. He was partially blind and had other health problems. Since the brothers were already in college, Helena stayed to help her mother. Unfortunately, her father died in January 2004. He was an amazing man with amazing determination. He had this alphabet board to talk with. Instead of answering with no or yes, he would answer in an incredibly long sentence. But he had depression and felt guilty that he was a burden. Bonham Carter once said that the stresses of caring for her father when she was a child inspired her to actively pursue an acting career. The first reason was the confidence that she needed to grow up quickly, learn to live by herself, and make important decisions. that she should become someone now, at such a young age. The second was an attempt to escape, as the actress admitted to another, fictional world. All the changes scared her so much that she subconsciously decided to create her own reality, only under her control. I still think that it's necessary to get out of reality more often, and from being real. Our dreams and fantasies educate us, Helena said. In addition, she struggled to compete with a group of girls at her school.
A friend of mine at school, who was on Grange Hill, which is a telly programme, and I was so jealous that she was on telly that I overheard her talking to her agent on the school phone, and I heard her name, and then I looked it up in the Yellow Pages, with the phone directory, and then phoned her up and said, I want to be an actress too. I was 13. So then I got the agent, and then I started going to auditions, and that's how I started. But it was through, I think I just wanted to pretend to be somebody else.
She noted, my way of coping at 13 was I found an agent. I thought, fuck this, I'm going to invent my own life. It was a refusal to accept what happened. But it had another side. Being an adult and serious until the age of 13, a young woman is simple, stuck at the same psychological age. Helena simply refused to grow up and lived with her parents until she was 30. I had this childish feeling because of my father, of course, because of his illness. If I'm at home with my parents, I can change something. Improve, she said. I was married to my parents. Helena has been looking for a job quite seriously for her age. For 3 whole years, she went to auditions and dreamed of a movie. At the age of 15, Carter finally took part in a television commercial. A year later, she appeared in the TV movie A Pattern of Roses, in which the girl played the role of Nettie, a heroine whom the actress described a malevolent and manipulative, and noted that there was an awful lot of eyebrow acting in that one. Despite small projects, Helena did not give up hope of becoming a famous actress, and soon her hopes were fulfilled. Two years after the series was released, her agent sent a photo of the young actress to director Trevor Nunn, who was casting for the lead role in the film Lady Jane. At that time, Helena was preparing for the Oxbridge exam, a special entrance exam to Oxford and Cambridge. Her picture was the first one Nunn saw, and after a few weeks, he decided to invite Helena to audition. However, when he called, Carter decided to refuse. She didn't want anything to interfere with her plans to go to university, and although she still had the dream of becoming an actress, the young woman still wanted to get a higher education first. So she said no to Nunn and went on a trip with friends. But the director's not used to backing down. When Helena arrived at her friend's house, she was told that her agent had called and invited her to meet with Nunn again. Helena finally gave up and decided to meet with a persistent director, and this decision changed her life. The auditions for Lady Jane lasted more than a month. Helena was asked to play Shakespeare, which she hadn't done before. There was a lot of talk about herself, her emotions, her past, as well as her attitude to the obligatory nude scene. It wasn't easy, of course, she said. Someone basically self-conscious anyway, being asked to take off her clothes, but it seemed on the whole less serious than the emotional exposure I was being asked to do. You're having to dig out a part of yourself you don't usually do in front of even one person, let alone over 100 on the set. The director did not ask her to undress, but expressed the hope that there would be no problems with it later. After the audition, Nunn was impressed with the young actress and approved her for the role. Her character, Lady Grange, a 16-year-old Protestant, becomes Queen of England for only 9 days. She also has to marry Lord Guildford. They eventually fall in love, but the rebellious actions of the young people put them in extreme danger. Interestingly, in reality, these historical figures could not stand each other. However, the plot was changed for the sake of the romantic component. Critics reacted coolly to this drama, having more complaints about the director than about the main actors, Carter and Cary Elwes. If Helena was thinking of going to Cambridge after all, then the next project put everything in its place. After the completion of Lady Jane, the young actress went to audition of James Ivory, the director of A Room with a View. Ivory thought she was very quick, very smart, and very beautiful, and therefore the very next day, Helena had a new job. I was again employed in another major film and not feeling I'd been tested enough to deserve it. Although this was her second film and Helena was no longer a newcomer, she said she felt less confident during filming than in the first project. In Lady and Jane, I had been employed as someone who had never done anything before, she said. But in A Room with a View, I was employed as an actress. In Lady Jane, I didn't know at all what I was in for. In A Room with a View, I was more aware, more diffident, because I knew what the opportunities were. In the film adaptation of Forster's novel, Helena appeared as a Victorian young woman from the upper class named Lucy Honeychurch, governed by the manners and customs of her time. In the film, Lucy and her companion Charlotte find themselves in Florence with rooms without a view. The situation's being changed by Mr. Emerson and his son giving up their housing. This meeting becomes crucial for a woman in her life and calls into question her future marriage. By the way, Carter once said that she heard one of the radio programs about chaperones, which was hosted by her grandmother, Lady Violet Bonham Carter, who died when Helena was 4 years old. The broadcast was about chaperones and how necessary they were for young ladies when she was a girl. Bonham Carter said, "It was so apt in relation to Lucy. I thought that she must have been Lucy's age when Lucy actually was supposed to exist." Working in the company of actors such as Maggie Smith, Judi Dench, and Daniel Day-Lewis added confidence to the young actress in choosing the right profession. A beautiful true love story dotted with funny characters has become a real hit. The film was nominated for 8 Academy Awards, including a nomination for Best Film, and won 3 awards for Adapted Screenplay, Direction, and Costume Design. And it was a ticket to the world of cinema for Carter.
Go and call him.
Call Mr. Vyse?
No, the other one. This time I'll deal with him myself.
After 2 outstanding films, the young actress took part in everything that was offered to her, and she didn't have to choose much. In 1987, she appeared in a cameo role as a lady at a cricket match in the film Maurice, and played one of the main roles in the romantic drama A Hazard of Hearts. The actress did not refuse television projects. For example, she played the role of Don Johnson's beloved in 2 episodes of the TV series Miami Vice. For the next 2 years, Carter starred in the Italian romantic film The Mask, the historical movie Francesco, and the British-American comedy drama Getting It Right. Finally, in 1990, Helena got a serious role in the drama Hamlet, based on the Shakespeare tragedy of the same name, directed by Franco Zeffirelli. There, Carter played the role of Ophelia, a young and innocent girl who obeys her father and brother, but falls under the spell of Hamlet, which becomes a fatal mistake in her short life. Mel Gibson was chosen for the role of the Danish prince after Zeffirelli watched an acting scene in the movie Lethal Weapon when his character, policeman Martin Riggs, contemplates taking his own life. The film mostly imitated the original actor's play and plot, however with fewer characters. Hamlet received mixed reviews from viewers and critics, however, Carter's performance as Ophelia stood out. One Washington Post reviewer lavished praise on her performance. There's a genuine frailty and madness in Helena Bonham Carter's unraveled Ophelia. She's like a rag doll losing its stuffings. The fact that a little-known actress was highlighted more than her outstanding colleagues on the set gave another boost to her career.
My brother shall know of it. And so, I thank you for your good counsel.
But despite her success, it was still difficult for Helena to get rid of the feeling of self-doubt. Later, the actress said that despite the recognition and awards, she felt like a complete idiot. "I had the feeling that I was impersonating someone else. It is he, the other one, who deserves prizes, awards, popularity," she explained. Charles Sturridge's next drama, Where Angels Fear to Tread, also told about the era of noble maidens, chaperones, and romantic relationships. This one and most of Carter's early projects were similar in mood and plot, and led to the young actress being called Corset Queen and English Rose, because she played heroines before and at the beginning of the 20th century, in particular in films produced by Merchant Ivory Productions. Feeling uncomfortable with this image, Helena said, "I looked, as someone said, like a bloated chipmunk." And although her next work was no exception and once again emphasized her image of the Queen of Corsets, this time it gave the actress much more. It was a romantic drama, Howard's End, directed by James Ivory, based on the novel of the same name by Edward Morgan Forster. Visually, the beautiful picture embodied the entire era of romance, passion, and emotion, and told about the life stories of 3 different strata of English society at the beginning of the 20th century, who were united by the Howard's End mansion, the Wilcoxes, rich capitalists, the Schlegel sisters, played by Bonham Carter and Emma Thompson, educated aristocracy, and the Bosts family, who was the lower and middle class. And although Helena and Emma didn't look like sisters, their bond looked real. The vulnerable but scandalous life of Helena's character, in Bonham Carter performance, earned her a BAFTA nomination. The actress lost the statuette to Miranda Richardson, but took another step in the right direction on the career ladder. The film itself claimed 9 Academy Awards, including Best Film, and won 3. Bonham Carter's early work helped her to assert herself and show her own style of performance. However, the actress began to assert herself more and more in the idea that she should start experimenting and trying herself in something else. Tired of her image as a socialite of the early 20th century, Helena began experimenting with roles. In 1993, she appeared as a stripper in the romantic comedy Dancing Queen. It was followed by the American biographical drama television film Fatal Deception, Mrs. Lee Harvey Oswald, directed by Robert Dornum. There, Bonham Carter and Frank Whaley played the Oswalds, wife Marina and Lee Harvey Oswald, the assassin of President Kennedy. The picture was dedicated to the 30th anniversary of the assassination of John F. Kennedy. Bonham Carter received her first Golden Globe Award nomination for her role as the wife of the president's murderer. In 1994, Helena appeared in the second series of the British sitcom Absolutely Fabulous as Adina Monsoon's daughter Saffron, who was normally played by Julia Sohala. Later, Saffron's resemblance to Bonham Carter was mentioned throughout the series. The actress also played in 2 episodes of the British mystery series The Barbara Vine Mysteries called A Dark Adapted Eye, about the confrontation between 2 sisters and the consequences it led to. And she also took part in a documentary about the various elements of sexuality where tips were given on improving intimate life, called The Good Sex Guide. The work on Mary Shelley's Frankenstein in 1994 made Helena a participant in a love triangle. The director and lead actor, Kenneth Branagh, liked the actress. The sympathy turned out to be mutual, and the couple began dating. However, at first, it was a secret because Branagh was married at that time to actress Emma Thompson, with whom Helena played in the film Howard's End. Despite the fact that Kenneth and Bonham Carter's romance began in 1994, they first met 6 years earlier during a poetry reading evening. But the actress insisted that she'd never spoken to Kenneth until they started working together in 1994. We'd never actually sat down and had a proper conversation, we figured out. When I went up for the interview for Frankenstein, it was all very, "Oh, love your work," and "Yes, love yours," and that was it. Kenneth left the family, and it was a real shock for Emma. Later, however, she revealed that there were no hard feelings between her and Helena, adding that she understood why Branagh loved them both, ironically. Being slightly mad and a bit fashion challenged, perhaps that's why Ken loved us both. She's a wonderful woman, Helena. However, journalists were not as condescending as Emma Thompson. Bonham Carter has received a lot of negative reviews in the press. She was called a homewrecker and was vilified in every possible way, and yet she and Branagh were together from 1995 to 1999, and they divorced only 5 years later on Helena's initiative. However, many years later, the whole trio will visit the set of a very famous project, but more on that later. Despite the stellar cast where Robert De Niro himself played the creation of the scientist, Branagh portrayed Frankenstein, and Bonham Carter portrayed his bride, the horror, Mary Shelley's Frankenstein, received not very flattering reviews from critics, although it collected about $112 million at the global box office.
I promise!
Promise? Promise? Oh, don't dare use that word to me. You promised to tell me who this man was.
Helena continued to experiment with images at that time. In 1995, she appeared as the wife of Woody Allen's character in his comedy Mighty Aphrodite. The script was inspired to some extent by the Pygmalion story and told how Lenny Wenrib, played by Allen, searched for the biological mother of his brilliant adopted son, eventually finding out that she was a clumsy representative of the earliest profession named Linda Ashe. And although the film received many awards and nominations, Bonham Carter's performance was not properly appreciated because it was overshadowed by Mira Sorvino's brilliant performance, which earned her an Oscar. Then there was a role in the drama Margaret's Museum and the romantic comedy Twelfth Night, or What You Will. And her knowledge of French helped the actress in Martine Douglason's romantic drama Shadow Play. In 1995, Bonham Carter was cast as Bess McNeil in Breaking the Waves, but declined during production due to the character's painful psychic and physical exposure. The role went to Emily Watson, who was nominated for an Oscar for her performance. One of the culminating moments of her early career was the role of the schemer Kate Croy in the 1997 film adaptation of The Wings of the Dove, which received high international fame. Bonham Carter's extremely intelligent, sensual performance has earned Golden Globe and Oscar nominations. Many of the fans believe that the actress was able to give the main character a soul, give motivation, explain her actions with love on the verge of insanity, which is very different from the novel of the same name by Henry James. The film itself received 2 more Oscar nominations for adapted screenplay and costume design. Helena admits that she always tries to look at her character from a psychological point of view, understand them, discover them. It's my job to find out why she's so unhappy. What exactly hurts her so much? There's always something. Everybody wants to be loved, even a bully who intimidates others just because he feels so small and unhappy. They're all kids inside. Small, very vulnerable children. The Wings of the Dove and the miniseries Merlin, which was released the following year, became the most successful Bonham Carter projects of the late 90s. It was one of the peaks of the actress's career. As an indicator, there were new nominations and collaborations with popular cinema stars at that time, such as Sam Neill, Isabella Rossellini, Martin Short, and Rutger Hauer. These same projects became the reason for Helena's collaboration with David Fincher. He saw Bonham Carter on the screen and decided to invite her to Fight Club, where Edward Norton and Brad Pitt already worked for the role of Marla Singer. In this dark cult film, the actress demonstrated the dark side of her character with an eccentric hairstyle and an all-black outfit. And while the two main characters entertained the audience with fights and an unpredictable plot twist, Helena's Marla delighted them with her undeniable charm. The actress got the opportunity to completely shake off the romantic flair, and a completely new Helena Bonham Carter appeared in front of us. Ironic, grotesque, crazy, but just as charismatic and attractive. But the Fight Club in the actress's life might not have happened. The producers initially considered Courtney Love and Winona Ryder for the role of Marla, but in the end they chose between Carter and Reese Witherspoon. Director David Fincher wanted Bonham Carter, but the studio wanted a bigger name and decided to choose Witherspoon. However, she eventually refused the too dark role, and Helena was finally approved for the project. The character was so unusual that even Helena, with her tendency to break up an annoying role, doubted whether to take on it. I had doubts about the role for a long time, but then I decided that Marla had to have a heart, otherwise she'd just be a nightmare. I was talking myself into it. By the end of the letter, I'd convinced myself to do it. Before filming, Edward Norton and Bonham Carter considered visiting real support groups for the terminally ill, but they turned it down because they found it inappropriate due to the satirical nature of the film. Helena took her image seriously. During filming, for example, she insisted that her makeup artist Julie Pierce apply all eye makeup with her left hand because the actress believed that her Marla would not be particularly skilled and did not really understand how to apply shadows correctly. But for their invisible sex scenes between Tyler and Marla, Brad Pitt and his partner recorded the sounds of orgasm for 3 days. The very same intimacy scene was shot using the same technique as in The Matrix. The cameras were mounted in a circle around the bed and each shot one frame. These separate shots were then edited together and enhanced using computer graphics, as both Pitt and Bonham Carter were fully dressed in special motion capture suits during filming. But not only the actress took the filming seriously, Fincher was so passionate about the process and the details that it cost Helena her health. The fuel, the ashtrays, and cigarettes were everywhere. At the end of the shoot, I gave Finch an x-ray of my lungs, she said in an interview. I had to have an x-ray because I got bronchitis. Surprise, surprise, during the 6 months of filming. And Fincher does so many takes and lots of smoke shots. He got obsessed with the smoke. It had to float in a particular way, so I was just always sitting there in a cemetery of cigarette butts. Helena's efforts were noticed by the public and critics, and for her unforgettable role, she won the Empire Award for Best British Actress in 2000.
You know, the girl who lives there used to be a charming, lovely girl. She's lost faith in herself. She's a monster.
The year 2000 became a landmark in the career and personal life of the star. After all, it was then that life brought her together with Tim Burton on the set of the sci-fi adventure film Planet of the Apes and gave rise to their creative tandem. Later, this role will become a reason for the actress to tell her son Billy, "Your mom met Dad when she was a monkey." The actress was in Australia at the time when Burton called her to offer to participate in the filming. He said, "Don't take this the wrong way, but you're the first person I thought of to play a chimpanzee." I thought he's never met me, but he's got me, because he said, "I've got this funny intuitive feeling that you like to cover up." And I said, "You're completely right." In order to fully match her image, Helena had to work hard. It took only 2.5 hours to put on a wig, but she also had to do makeup. It took about 4 hours to do everything. In addition, it was necessary to reduce the waist due to the corset. According to the memories of the star, only her eyes remained the same, which she was supposed to play with. After this role, I realized what people find in me. It turns out that I have kind eyes, she joked. But for Helena, on the contrary, it was the best way to escape from reality again. I want to crawl out of this envelope and be somebody else, and I always think I'm doing it, and then I watch 5 minutes and I give up quickly because I'm like, damn, I'm still me. But Carter did not even realize that very soon she would be involved in another love triangle again. Like her previous partner, Burton was not a bachelor at the time of filming and was in a 10-year relationship with actress Lisa Marie. In addition, Lisa was also present on the set because she had a small role in the film. Soon, the film crew began to feel the chemistry between the British actress and the director. Rumors began to circulate about their affair, and they denied everything. Tim is very shy, and I was dressed as an ape all the time, so we didn't really collide, she said. Carter also said that the first and only personal conversation they had during filming was about the London borough of Hampstead, where she grew up and where Burton stayed during the filming of Sleepy Hollow. The actress claimed that it was a complete surprise for her when their professional relationship turned into a romantic one. At that time, she was 35, and Helena no longer expected to meet a handsome prince, confident that there would be nothing more in her life. I was completely unprepared to meet Tim, but I did, and I was completely surprised. They walked the red carpet for the first time at the premiere of Planet of the Apes in New York, a few months before they officially started dating. Helena said the following about her boyfriend. I once went to a really brilliant, intuitive astrologer. I like all that stuff, and the first thing she said was, "By God, he's an efficient man." I thought, how interesting, because that's the last thing people would say about Tim. But he is. He's someone who's very creative and has a mad exterior, but he's fundamentally very sane and practical. I don't think we're crazy at all, to be honest. A representative for Bonham Carter later confirmed to the New York Daily News that her relationship with Burton did begin after and not during filming. She's been seeing him for the last 2.5 weeks. It's a baby relationship, the rep said in October 2001. They're taking baby steps. It didn't start during Planet of the Apes. Anyway, Tim really broke off a 10-year relationship with Lisa Marie and devoted himself to a new muse. The director's film became a real hit and subsequently collected more than $362 million at the global box office. Planet of the Apes became the 10th highest-grossing film in North America and the 9th in the world in 2001.
Look at this garment. This was made by one of my humans. Can you deny the skill? Isn't it obvious that they are capable of a real culture?
Despite the success of the film, the actress was not going to rest on her laurels. She appeared with Steve Martin in the American black comedy Novocaine, with Paul Bettany and Olivia Williams in the British drama The Heart of Me, and with Guy Pearce in the Australian drama Till Human Voices Wake Us. In August 2001, she starred for Maxim magazine and also played her second Queen of England when she was cast as Anne Boleyn in the ITV1 miniseries Henry VIII. Her role was limited as the actress was pregnant with her first child during filming. Despite the upcoming important event, the Burton and Carter couple did not cease to amaze the audience. They seemed far from traditional values, if only because after a year of relationship and pregnancy, Helena and Tim still lived in different houses. The fact was that Burton, instead of moving in with his beloved, bought a house next door to her apartment in the suburb of Belsize Park in London. So Tim's house was their family home and Helena's smaller house was her vacation spot. The actress herself did not see anything surprising in this. We just have two houses knocked together because mine was too small. We see as much of each other as any other couple, but our relationship is enhanced by knowing we have our personal space to retreat to. Tim does snore, and that's an element. In any relationship, after the first year is over, you can't help but want your own space, she explained. We have different telly tastes and both work from home, but things obviously aren't that bad between us or I wouldn't have gotten pregnant, would I? I'm very happy. According to Helena, her relationship with Burton has changed her a lot. He thinks I overact all the time, Helena admitted. He's all for minimal expression. He likes to simplify things. I complicate them. He's made me more aware. Her pregnancy did not prevent the actress from taking part in the next joint project with her lover, Big Fish. In this fantasy drama that tells the story of a disappointed son trying to distinguish truth from fiction in his father's life, Bonham Carter played two roles, a fairy tale witch and a woman in love with the main character. Tim became the director. Filming was not easy for pregnant Helena. After all, only the witch's makeup took 5 hours. I was pregnant throughout filming, so it was weird being a pregnant witch, the actress reflected. I had morning sickness, so all those fumes and the makeup and the rubber, it was hideous. In October 2003, Bonham Carter gave birth to their first child, Billy Raymond. The boy was named after the parents of the actress and director. Helena said that her life completely changed after the birth of her son. On the day Billy was born, it was like walking through a mirror and everything was Technicolor. My life had been very work-oriented and all in close-up. Once I had the family, it went into sudden widescreen. Big Fish was released on Christmas Day 2003 and became another hit, collecting almost $123 million with a budget of $70 million. In addition, the film received 4 Golden Globe nominations, 7 nominations from the British Academy of Film and Television, 2 Saturn Award nominations, as well as Oscar and Grammy nominations for original music by Danny Elfman.
I realized I was in love with a man who could never love me back. I was living in a fairy tale. Not sure I should have told you any of this.
No, I wanted to know. I'm glad I know.
The 2004 year became a time spent in the family for the actress, where she focused more on the role of the mother, rejecting all other roles. However, Carter did appear in one film. She played the cameo role of Beatrice Baudelaire, the mother of the Baudelaire orphans, with whom a number of adventures take place in Brad Sibberling's black comedy Lemony Snicket's, a series of unfortunate events. The main antagonist in this picture was played by Jim Carrey, but Helena's face was never shown there. By the way, the biography of the legendary Jim Carrey is already on our channel, so after watching this video, we invite you to plunge into the world of this eccentric comedian. We'll leave a link for you in the description below this video. Helena played one of the smallest roles in Burton's movies, film adaptation of Roald Dahl's famous book Charlie and the Chocolate Factory. In the great remake, Bonham Carter played the role of Mrs. Bucket, Charlie's mom. The film was released in the United States in July 2005 and received exceptionally good box office receipts. But for the actress, the film was special because here, for the first time, she managed to work with a family friend and godfather of her son, Johnny Depp. Although Johnny was a close friend of the couple at the time, at first he was only a friend of Burton, and only later got to know Helena better, and they began a very warm relationship. Bonham Carter often said that in the beginning she felt like the third wheel in this tandem. "I don't actually understand what Johnny and Tim joke about," she shared. "Culturally, they've had the same childhood and I haven't, so I don't get a lot of the same telly references. They try and explain what the joke is and I just go, huh?" Despite these differences, and given the fact that both Johnny and Helena were delighted with Burton, they became very close very quickly. There was another special thing that united them. According to Carter, Depp never watches any of the movies he stars in because he hates himself on screen, and obviously she does too. She said that if it's alright for Johnny Depp to boycott his own films, then so can she. It was a kind of relief for her to know that narcissism was not peculiar to Johnny Depp too. Despite the fact that the actress began to devote more time to her family, she was not going to finally give up her career. In 2005, she voiced Lady Tottenham, a wealthy aristocratic girl, in the animated comedy Wallace and Gromit: The Curse of the Were-Rabbit, starring Ralph Fiennes and Peter Sallis. The film was part of a series about Wallace and Gromit. In the same year, Carter and Depp again managed to work together, that time on voicing the main characters in Burton's animated film Corpse Bride. Bonham Carter appeared as a woman who was killed the night before the wedding and buried in a wedding dress, and Depp portrayed a nervous fiancé who inadvertently gave her a ring and ended up in the underworld. Tim admitted that Helena was the only voice actress who had to audition just 6 months after the premiere. "Maybe because I'm with her, I was a little harder on her than I would be with somebody else," he said. "Nobody else had to audition, that's true, but Helena's cool about it. She's very secure with herself." In addition, the director claimed that his partner was completely misperceived, saying, "If you read the London papers, she's referred to as one of the worst dressed people in the history of Britain, or a posh aristocrat. It bothers her a little bit, but once you get labeled, there's really not much you can do about it." Bonham Carter's extravagance was not really understood by everyone, but it was her personal expression. The actress says that she buys things in various shops and flea markets. The main condition is that she likes the thing, but she doesn't avoid designers either. So the most beloved for Helena is Alexander McQueen. His designs are closest to her, and the rest is all a matter of imagination and self-perception, she explained. "Our appearance says a lot about us. However, sometimes she's surprised by her own choice of casual clothes. Even when I think I'm being normal, somehow it comes out wrong. It really does. I later see the photos and think, what was I thinking?" Her style alternates with old-fashioned luxury and modern teenage style, and often these two styles are combined in one look. When asked about the eccentricity of her wardrobe and whether her preferences changed with age, Helena simply answered, "No, I don't think so. It's pretty difficult to self-assess. I've always been happy to wear things I like and not follow what's in fashion." One morning in 2006, she woke up with the realization that she needed to do more than just play. Therefore, Helena decided to work with swimsuit designer Samantha Sage to create a lingerie line. In May of the same year, the women launched their own fashion line, the Pantaloonies. Their first collection, Bloom and Bloomers, inspired by the Victorian style, was a real discovery. Sage and Carter also created Pantaloons jeans, which Bonham Carter described as a kind of scrapbook on the bum. However, at this time, Carter was still more imbued with the second pregnancy. She and Burton had been trying to have a second child since 2005, but the couple had so far failed. The woman tried alternative methods such as acupuncture and the fertility medication Clomid, but this only led to undesirable side effects. Despite the fact that they discussed in vitro fertilization, the actress still managed to get pregnant naturally. It happened during the filming of the musical slasher Sweeney Todd, the Demon Barber of Fleet Street. I was working so hard at the time. The first 3 months being pregnant while filming, I felt totally spaced out, she said. You do need to multitask with acting. You gotta remember your marks, your lines, singing, everything. And actually, you have no brain. Suddenly, your own brain is growing another person's brain, so yours goes defunct. It wasn't ideal, but then I was so happy to be pregnant. The film premiered on December 3, 2007 in New York City, and in less than 2 weeks, its director and main performer of the role had a baby girl. The actress revealed that giving birth at St. Mary's Hospital in London was like Christmas. The happiest days of my life have been spent in that hospital, she said. She's very chilled with lots of hair, and I'm totally in love. I even loved the birth. She shared her emotions about the process of giving birth to her daughter. I'd do it again in a flash. I just got the drugs, sat back, and enjoyed it. It was all so casual that she didn't even cry when she came out. The couple has asked Johnny Depp to be the godfather for the second time. They explained their decision by saying that they didn't want any of their children to be jealous that Jack Sparrow was a godfather of one of them. However, back to Sweeney Todd. Shortly before giving birth, during a doctor's appointment, Bonham Carter and Burton learned that they had received a Golden Globe nomination for their filmmaking, Helena as Best Actress, and Tim as Best Director. We were talking about inducing, and Tim got a call from his assistant. Helena said, I do look like a globe, so it's kind of funny. I am very round. During an advertisement for the picture before its release, Bonham Carter admitted to The Guardian that Burton did not just give her roles because she was his common-law wife. The actress had to convince him and others every time that she was worth it. Helena recalled that her husband was very afraid of accusations of nepotism, which was why he treated Bonham Carter with the greatest severity, especially on the set. Thus, the director tried to achieve maximum objectivity in his work, although this often led to distortions in the other direction. In particular, Stephen Sondheim, who wrote the music and lyrics for Sweeney Todd, had the last words regarding her latest role as Mrs. Lovett. Bonham Carter auditioned for Sondheim, not Burton, and the actress said that getting the role was the most absolutely amazing thing. I just could not believe it, she said, nor could Tim actually. He burst into tears, and I burst into tears. In addition, Carter took numerous vocal lessons and learned how to make pastries while preparing for her role. The actress rehearsed her songs while practicing baking techniques in order to perfect the quick, syncopated rhythm of the music. Everything wasn't quite smooth on the set of the film, too. The star couple constantly argued about what happened to them almost for the first time. We weren't actually very argumentative as a couple, except on Sweeney, she added. It might have been the subject matter, you know. Tim sort of identified with Sweeney, and I was playing Mrs. Lovett. Apparently, such a cunning approach of the actress really worked because the picture collected more than $153 million with a budget of $50 million. And since its release, Sweeney Todd, the Demon Barber of Fleet Street has been rated as one of the best musical films of the 21st century. However, Helena did not feel much about the commercial component of success at that time because all her thoughts were focused on taking care of her two lovely children. When her daughter was only a month old, she was still on breastfeeding duty, trying to think of a name. And just 7 months after the birth of their daughter, Bonham Carter and Burton named her. They agreed on Nell, a diminutive form of Helen in honor of all the Helens in the family, because besides Helena, there was her mother Elena and her grandmother Helen. In 2007, Helena passed the casting and joined a large team that worked on the film adaptation of J.K. Rowling's books, Harry Potter and the Order of the Phoenix. Was the first film where Bellatrix Lestrange in her performance appeared. Subsequently, she succeeded in 3 more parts of the series, starring Daniel Radcliffe and Emma Watson. Helena really liked her on-screen image because, according to her, it allowed her to give vent to her emotions. However, during the filming of The Order of the Phoenix, the actress overdid it a little bit. In the scene where Bellatrix held Neville Longbottom hostage, she decided to twirl a magic wand in his ear, teasing him. Everything looked very cool on the screen, menacing and with a touch of sadism, all in the spirit of Lestrange, especially against the background of explosions and stunts. When one such explosion occurred, Matthew Lewis went one way, Helena the other, and the magic wand hit him right in the ear. After the shooting, the actor approached one of the stuntmen and told him that he couldn't hear anything with his right ear. It turned out that the wand entered the ear by about 1 inch and pierced the eardrum. Fortunately, his hearing was restored and now the actor hears perfectly, but Helena was very offended for her carelessness, although no one accused her of anything. However, this was not the only unfortunate incident involving a star in the world-famous franchise. The fight between her and Gary Oldman was excluded from the final version of the film, although she had been preparing for this fight for 3 weeks. Moreover, Helena was deeply traumatized by the scene in which she had to torture Hermione Granger. This happened when Harry, Ron, and Hermione were kidnapped and taken to the Malfoy estate in the first part of Harry Potter and the Deathly Hallows. During this scene, Bellatrix learned that Hermione had the sword of Gryffindor that belongs to her and should be kept in her vault at the Gringotts Wizarding Bank. Lestrange was so eager to find the truth that she tormented Hermione, causing her physical and mental suffering. Emma Watson, who played Hermione, admitted that it was difficult for her and Carter to shoot this scene. Contrary to what might have been expected, Helena did not enjoy the torture of Watson's heroine. It was weirdly affecting to do that scene. It was quite horrible. I think even Helena said to me afterwards, she was like, I really didn't enjoy doing that. I really didn't. She usually gets very into that kind of evil stuff, but I think she felt quite uncomfortable. Both actresses took this intense scene very emotionally, which deeply influenced the main characters and the actors who played them. However, the idea to carve the offensive word mudblood on Hermione's hand came to Carter and Watson to emphasize the greater drama of the situation. This was not in the original script, but was added as an attempt to make Lestrange's hatred and cruelty more palpable. And what's your favorite character in the Harry Potter franchise? Write in the comments. It will be interesting to hear your opinion. Bonham Carter demonstrated real acting skills in the role of Bellatrix, and critics wrote about her shining but underused talent. The actress's performance amazed fans of the franchise and cemented her status as a Harry Potter legend.
You take a witch's wand! How dare you defy your masters!
Dobby has no master.
Helena herself said in an interview that she had saved one of the magic wands that belonged to her character, Bellatrix Lestrange. She sometimes used it as a joke on her son's friends when they were naughty or made noise in her house. In this case, she took out a magic wand and instantly turned into a witch, scaring the children and forcing them to behave well. However, all this was just mischief. In fact, the star has a very big heart, and she helps those in need. For example, in 2008, she became the first patron of the charity Action Duchen, a national charity created to support parents and patients with Duchenne muscular dystrophy. Early the following year, Bonham Carter was named one of the 10 best British actresses of all time by The Times, along with other actresses Judi Dench, Helen Mirren, Maggie Smith, Julie Andrews, and Audrey Hepburn. Bonham Carter also appeared in the 4th film in the Terminator series called Terminator Salvation, playing a small but key role as the personification of Skynet. However, during filming, the actress learned that 4 of her relatives had died in a safari bus accident in South Africa. Because of this tragedy, the star was given an indefinite leave, and she returned later to finish filming. In the same year, the star voiced Mother Squirrel in a 30-minute animated film adaptation of the best-selling children's book The Gruffalo, which was broadcast on BBC One. Bonham Carter has also signed on to play the writer Enid Blyton in the BBC 4 biopic, Enid. This was Blyton's first on-screen portrayal of her life. She starred with Matthew McFadyen and Dennis Lawson. The star received a BAFTA nomination for Best Actress in this film. In 2010, she starred with Freddie Highmore in Nigel Slater's biopic Toast, which was filmed in the West Midlands and received a gala presentation at the 2011 Berlin International Film Festival. She received the Britannia Award as British Artist of the Year from BAFTA LA for her role as housewife Joan Potter. While continuing to star in films about Harry Potter, the actress did not forget about her family and joined projects with her common-law husband. The actress admitted that she and Burton changed after the first meeting. "He's made me more aware. He thinks I overact all the time," she said of Burton's influence on her. "People who know him say I have changed him, and I feel really flattered. Made him talk more. He didn't really talk before. He's much shyer than me. Every sentence was unfinished. I used to say he was a home for abandoned sentences. Now he actually finishes them." Back in 2008, Tim once asked Helena to meet him at his office. This was unusual, for at the time, I shared a home with him and our 2 young children down the other end of the road. she wrote. What was so important that he couldn't ask me over Cheerios? Seated at his desk, he announced quite formally, I have something very important to ask you. At that moment, the actress thought that Tim was going to ask her to marry him. However, instead, he invited her to play the Red Queen in his film Alice in Wonderland. Before Helena could answer, Burton tossed her a sketch, noting that it definitely had to be her because he had drawn her by accident. On a piece of paper was a sketch of an overly big-headed, scowling queen. Frankly, this was better than a marriage proposal, the actress joked. Helena's Red Queen is a mix of two characters from the books. The Red Queen from Alice Through the Looking Glass is a chess piece competing with the White Queen, and the Queen of Hearts from Alice in Wonderland is a playing card with anger management issues, beheading mania, and an attachment to croquet with flamingos and hedgehogs. Thus, while the White Queen's army has a chess theme, the Red Queen's army has a playing card theme. Helena said that her first impression of reading the script was, "Oh, that's brilliant," despite the fact that she's a purist and is very jealous of various alterations, but in this case, she felt like an adult Alice in Wonderland. Helena was such a fan of history that she was sure that on the set she'd definitely be able to visit a magical land, but it didn't happen as expected. And then I come to the set and there's just a green room. It was a real bore. If you've seen the trailer, I've got a piggy in my arms, so just so you know, it was just a green pillow. Everything was finished later, but on the set, we had to use our imagination. But acting is already built on working with the imagination. Carter's big head in the picture was created already in post-production, and the actress also had her own camera for her head to make it seem bigger. But the Queen's temperament was borrowed from American businesswoman Leona Helmsley, who is popularly called the Queen of Mean. Helena said the following about her character. It's great fun playing it, but it's exhausting, losing your temper. She's age 2 in emotional control. I have a child who's 2, and she's a lot like her. However, at the same time, the excessive expressivity of her character became somewhat therapeutic for the actress.
I'm not naturally very angry. It's quite tiring to be continually angry too. So it took a lot of sugar and caffeine, but it was definitely shouting. It's amazing that you don't have to pay for the therapy; you get paid for the therapy. So yes, it was therapy.
Her makeup was supervised by Burton himself. Tim doesn't usually get involved in my eyeshadow, but he wanted her to be a bit tacky. The actress was particularly pleased to work with Johnny Depp. In a green atmosphere, she said he added bright colors. With Johnny, you never know what he's going to come up with in the next second. On the set of Alice, he was constantly coming up with offering so many different colors. We had a few scenes together, which I was terribly happy about. She recalled. Advertising the release of the picture, Bonham Carter said that she was reliving childhood with her eldest son. After all, then 6-year-old Billy Ray did nothing but wave his wands and pretend to be someone else. Therefore, his mother had to grow up with him again, as the actress claimed. They always had something to talk about. At the same time, they hardly saw each other with her husband. What I just want to know is if he's coming home now for the babies, because we've been separated for 6 or 7 months. She said, he's been stuck in his room drawing and directing and animating all this time. In addition, he had to stay in Los Angeles for months to finish the film. It was difficult for the kids. Despite Skype and all that, it was really hard for them. She explained. Burton's hard work paid off in full because his Alice in Wonderland became the 6th film in the history of cinema, which grossed $1 billion worldwide. And this box office fantasy marked the beginning of a series of transformations of classic Disney cartoons into CGI films. The next bright work of the star was the historical drama 2010 The King's Speech. There, Carter was able to touch the world of the aristocracy again, against the background of the former bizarre personalities played by the actress. The restrained and calm Queen Elizabeth, the wife of Colin Firth's character, and her performance was a breath of fresh air and a reminder of how different Helena can be. She received huge support from viewers and critics for her performance, including Oscar and BAFTA nominations for Best Supporting Actress. She lost the Golden Statuette to Melissa Theo for the movie The Fighter, but won her first BAFTA award. At the awards ceremony, Helena thanked her longtime partner for his love and support in her speech.
And then finally, Tim Burton, who is my genius, and thank you for the big-headed queen. And thank you for, helping me make the 8th and 9th wonders of the world that are our children.
In 2011, Helena Bonham Carter finally said goodbye to the Harry Potter franchise and began acting even more actively in other projects. She once again voiced Mother Squirrel in the animated film The Gruffalo's Child. In 2012, the actress played the role of the eccentric, abandoned bride Miss Havisham, one of the most influential figures of Victorian Gothic literature. In the film adaptation of Charles Dickens' novel Great Expectations by Mike Newell, the star also appeared in Rufus Wainwright's music video for his single Out of the Game, which was included in the artist's album of the same name, and Helena played the role of Madame Thénardier in the film adaptation of the musical Les Miserables. Although the main stars of the film were Hugh Jackman and Russell Crowe, Carter brought a comic element to distract the public's attention from the serious tone of the picture. Besides, the funny chemistry between her and Sacha Baron Cohen also deserved applause. Rolling Stone critic Peter Travers stated that the couple played the gruesome twosome with delicious mirth and malice. Les Mis, as fans call it, received 8 Oscar nominations. It also became the first musical since Chicago in 2002 to compete for Best Film and won 3 statuettes, including the Supporting Actress trophy for Anna Hathaway. The film became a success at the box office, collecting $442 million worldwide. In the same year, the actress starred in a short film directed by Roman Polanski for the Prada clothing brand. It was called Therapy, where she appeared as a patient of Ben Kingsley's character, the therapist. The Marc Jacobs brand advertising company has also expanded its cooperation with commercial projects. There, she was able to fully transform beyond recognition. A fat woman dressed in a stupid polka dot jacket, or a lady in a pink dress with a rather unusual hat. Such an experience gave the actress the opportunity to show all her originality and courage, both in her clothes and in the way she reflected them. At the same time, the actress continued to work in films. Dark Shadows in 2012 was Burton's last film to star Bonham Carter. However, this was not their last joint project. 4 years later, Burton produced the sequel Alice Through the Looking Glass, in which the actress reprised the role of the Red Queen. And although the film retained the main cast in the person of Mia Wasikowska, Johnny Depp, and others, it failed at the box office and was poorly received by critics.
I present you with a gift made entirely out of fluff, and also a little bit of metal and wood, of course. I know how you love the tiny things. Oh?
Dark Shadows was accompanied by jokes from the spouses regarding further cooperation. She said that she felt that the director was already sick of her on the set, and he recalled the desire to attract new blood. There was more propheticness in these phrases than the couple's fans wanted. On the one hand, their 13-year relationship was the perfect combination of 2 consummate professionals. On the other hand, their eccentricity made family life together unpredictable. The tension between the 2 worlds has created, to put it mildly, an interesting relationship. In October 2013, the Daily Mail published photos showing Burton kissing a blonde after a screening of the movie The Wicker Man. However, Bonham Carter quickly denied rumors of an affair, continuing to star heavily. Helena has long wanted to work with Jean-Pierre Jeunet. When the director wrote to her to test the waters and asked about a possible collaboration, Helena replied that she was ready to play even a phone book if he wanted. Such a sacrifice was not needed, and Bonham Carter got the role of Dr. Claire in The Young and Prodigious T.S. Spivet. In 2013, she met again with Johnny Depp on the same set and played the role of Red Harrington, a brothel madam in The Lone Ranger. After seeing the script, the actress was delighted. She especially enjoyed the opportunity to play the young madam with the wooden leg. I thought it might be interesting. I couldn't pass up this opportunity. Plus, the fact that I'm going to have a wooden leg, and inside it is a gun, perhaps the leg is the best prop in my entire career. But it wasn't just the leg that Helena liked. She spoke with pleasure about working with director Gore Verbinski, calling him very hardworking and bright, and the opportunity to get real sensations next to a real train and even be scared added a greater impression of the work. I never miss the opportunity to participate in such projects because there the actor does not pretend but plays with real toys, she said. That same year, Bonham Carter read poetry for the Love Book app, an interactive anthology of love literature developed by Ali Burness-Siri. Also, in 2013, Bonham Carter appeared as Elizabeth Taylor with Dominic West as Richard Burton in the BBC4 TV movie Burton and Taylor, which premiered at the 2013 Hamptons International Film Festival. The beginning of 2014 brought bad news to the couple's fans. After all, Helena Bonham Carter and Tim Burton announced that they had broken off their relationship after 13 years of marriage. This came as a real surprise to many, as they were considered one of the brightest couples in Hollywood, but both assured that they were still good friends and the parting was completely peaceful. The actress commented on it like this: "I could write a thesis on what's happened. It is all absorbing when a relationship breaks down, but I think we're coming through it. Our relationship was always so much special, and I think it'll always remain special. We did find each other, and really, the mark of a successful relationship shouldn't be whether you're there forever after. Sometimes you're not meant to be forever together. Sometimes you have to come to terms with the fact that that was it. But that was a gift, a massive gift. We gave each other children, and a lot more else." The star called the end of the relationship with Tim a divorce, despite the fact that the couple never officially married. Moreover, in honor of this, the actress dressed in all black and was in mourning for a long time. And the most difficult moment for both of them was the separation of parental responsibilities and time for equal communication with children. The parting was not easy, but necessary for both of them. They remained friends and received joint custody of the children. Burton also left both houses to his former lover. The joke that has been circulating since their breakup was the question, who's getting custody of Johnny Depp? Helena joked in the same vein. "Oh, Tim can have him. They get the same poo jokes. Nothing will separate them." Carter plunged back into work to distract herself from the new realities of life. She became the narrator in Andre Singer's documentary Night Will Fall, which recounted the creation of a 1945 British government documentary entitled An Overview of the Facts of the German Concentration Camps. The actress also played one of the main roles in 2 television political thrillers, Turks and Caicos and Salting the Battlefield. Despite frequent travel, publicity, and an irregular schedule, the actress always put children first. She even arranged an interview near her home so as not to waste extra time and, in case of an emergency, quickly return to the kids. Children happen, and every single day, especially when one of them is 8 and the other is 4. No, there are excuses. In addition, the actress tried to defend her own civic position. In August 2014, Bonham Carter was one of 200 public figures who signed the Guardian letter protesting Scottish independence in the run-up to September's referendum on the issue. And 2 years later, the actress advocated for the continuation of Britain's membership in the European Union. In 2015, 2 very different projects starring Helena were released. The first was a somewhat gloomy interpretation of the fairy tale Cinderella, directed by her former lover, Kenneth Branagh. There, Carter played the fairy godmother of the main character, played by Lily James. In this romantic fantasy, the main focus was not so much on the plot familiar to everyone as on the outfits of the characters, which were conjured by the costume designer Sandy Powell. For example, Bonham Carter's fairy godmother's dress had tiny LED bulbs woven into the fabric, and they glowed every time she cast a spell. It was decided not to dress the main character Ella in rags. Instead, Cinderella wore a dress that looked like she had worn it in happier days when her father was still alive. The dress was made of a cotton veil and had its small pale pink flowers almost hidden in the material. 10,000 Swarovski crystals were used, which were placed both on the outfit and in Lily James's hair for the image in which the young woman goes to the ball after transformation. Her iconic blue dress had 8 versions, which were used depending on what the actress was doing in the scene of the film. For example, one dress was not long enough and stretched across the ground when Ella arrived at the ball, and the other 4 inch shorter so that it was easier for the performer of the role to run away from the prince. Cinderella's ball gown consisted of several layers of very thin fabric, each of which had different shades of blue and purple, which gave the dress a watercolor effect. Sandy Powell wanted the dress to look like it was a watercolor in motion. Such vivid images and acting brought the film numerous nominations and awards, most of them, oddly enough, for costumes, as well as more than $500 million at the global box office.
Oh, nothing. Ooh, heavy pumpkin.
Watch out, Martin!
Oh well, never mind. Let's do it here.
Do what here? Turn the pumpkin into the carriage.
But in another 2015 film, Suffragette, Bonham Carter happily agreed to talk about the important thing, women's rights. Her role was first expanded and then reduced again, but this did not affect Helena's desire to remain part of a strong story. This role was significant for Carter because she was the great-granddaughter of the Prime Minister of the United Kingdom, Asquith, who held this post from 1908 to 1916, during the heyday of the suffrage movement, and he was a staunch opponent of women's voting rights. At the premiere of the film in London, the feminist group Sisters Uncut overcame barriers and staged a protest on the red carpet on the issue of reducing domestic violence services, saying that the battle isn't over yet. The film's stars continued to give interviews and meet with fans, and activists chanted, "Dead women can't vote," and "We are suffragettes." In an interview during the premiere, Bonham Carter said, "I'm glad our film has done something. That's exactly what it's there for," adding that the protest was the perfect response to the film. What do you think? Was the protest action on the red carpet really appropriate? Write in the comments. Let's discuss it. Carter then turned into Princess Margaret in 3 and 4 seasons of the popular Netflix series The Crown, replacing Vanessa Kirby, who played her younger version for the first 2 seasons. She played this royal very well, receiving several award nominations, including an Emmy Award for Best Supporting Actress in a Drama Series. Among Carter's list of popular roles, Princess Margaret is undoubtedly one of the most famous, especially among younger audiences. By the way, Bonham Carter knew personally the real Princess Margaret through her uncle Mark.
When they asked him to guard Princess Anne, who was at Windsor.
Wow.
Not Anne, Margaret.
Sure.
The actress admitted that before filming began, she had a rather superficial and caricatured idea of Margaret, like many. But she considers the princess's accusations of drunkenness, conflict, and irreverence unfair. "I think it takes courage to live in such a difficult situation, to be surrounded by people, but to be deeply lonely and under the yoke of public condemnation. She was confident despite this, and she felt a duty to serve her family and people. She was a wonderful woman," she explained. In order to get to know her character better, Carter read many biographical books, talked with friends and Margaret's servants. It was in conversations with the princess's hairdresser, her maids, that the actress saw an opportunity to reveal the identity of her character for real. "It gives me confidence in my work, and I enjoy the process of studying a person," she explained. There were also quite non-standard ways, so Bonham Carter even sought the help of a psychic to establish contact with Margaret's spirit in the otherworldly time dimension. It sounds ridiculous, and I know that most people will say that I'm crazy, but I definitely feel that there's a special energy of people that remains after their death. After working on 2 seasons, the actress was sorry to leave her character. According to her, this acting experience was incredible on many levels, and during the work she was able to feel intimacy with her character. The role of Margaret is actually a license for hooliganism and disobedience, and it was very funny, she shared. But in the comedy thriller Ocean's 8, Helena appeared in the already classic image of an eccentric person. She and other cast stars, including Sandra Bullock and Cate Blanchett, showed an alternate history of an already familiar plot. The female heist comedy tells the story of Debbie Ocean and her team of female experts who help her steal a $150 million necklace. The film was directed by Gary Ross, familiar to many from The Hunger Games. There were also such stars in the cast as Anne Hathaway, Rihanna, Sarah Paulson, Cate Blanchett, and others. Carter played a bankrupt fashion designer who was involved in the main character's robbery plan. Helena fit into her role very organically, creating gorgeous outfits for her colleagues. However, in an interview with Graham Norton, Rihanna jokingly criticized the actress's own style.
Presumably you all been at the real Met Gala.
No.
Yes.
Yeah.
You haven't? You haven't?
No, I've no.
You have not?
No.
That's because you wear dresses like that.
Before moving on to the last chapter, we would appreciate it if you subscribe to our channel and click on the bell to receive notifications about the release of new videos. It's always interesting here. In 2019, during an interview with Harper's Bazaar UK, the actress shared that she finally let go of her relationship with Burton 5 years after they went their separate ways. You break up, you grieve, you get bored of grieving, and then you finally move on. I'm very happy with someone else. It's been a bit of unexpected magic in my life. Bonham Carter's new lover is writer and scholar Rai Dag Hombo, 21 years younger than her, whom she called magical. Although they have the same age difference as Roddy Llewellyn and Princess Margaret, the heroine of Bonham Carter in the TV series The Crown, the actress said that her romance in real life has nothing to do with her personification of the royal person. It's strange though, Bonham Carter told The Times in November 2019. It was odd timing that I seem to have a similar age gap as her, but I think it would have happened whether I was playing her or not. The actress does not speak very willingly about her lover, respecting his privacy. I can't say much about Rai because he's a psychoanalyst, so he needs his anonymity. He's magic, and that's all I'm going to say. The couple met at the wedding of one of their mutual acquaintances, and this meeting could be called a happy accident, according to Carter herself. In an interview, the actress admitted that she was very worried about passing the mark in 50 years. She was afraid that her career would gradually fade, but no. Now she feels the opposite, happier and more fulfilled at work. In 2020, Helena was busy filming the movie Enola Holmes. This is the story of Sherlock Holmes' sister, played by Millie Bobby Brown, who herself can surpass her famous brother and undertakes to investigate the disappearance of her mother, a cheeky and emancipated person played by Helena Bonham Carter. By the way, this was the second role of the suffragist in the career of the star.
Great! I love it being complete.
For her part, Millie says, Helena is such an amazing, powerful, seasoned actor who is incredibly kind and sweet, and also a really big inspiration to me. The following year, the actress appeared in the British TV series The Cleaner, the main character of which was a crime scene cleaner. Her character became a real decoration of the first episode. In addition, Helena was invited to a special episode about the Harry Potter universe, Return to Hogwarts. The project was filmed with the support of HBO in honor of the 20th anniversary of the release of Harry Potter and the Sorcerer's Stone. In the special issue, which was released on January 1st, Carter said that she somehow dug through her things and found an old letter that Radcliffe once wrote to her during the filming of the film after she asked for his autograph. She handed the actor her phone so that he could read aloud the note from the photo she had taken. Dear HBC, the note, as read by Radcliffe during the special, said, "It was a pleasure being your co-star and coaster." Wow, what a clever pun I made. Honestly, I'm still kind of pleased with that, in the sense that I always end up holding your coffee. I do love you, and I just wish I had been born 10 years earlier. I might have been in with a chance. The note continued, "Lots of love, and thanks for being cool." So it was during the special issue that it turned out that the young actor was in love with his older colleague. Radcliffe said he and Helena corresponded afterwards. Over the last few months, I've actually texted with Helena a bit since the reunion, Radcliffe told People. I think when I'm back in London, we're definitely going to try and hang out at some point. Also, the actress was called one of the contenders for the role of the Doctor in the 15th season of Doctor Who. In 2022, Bonham Carter was appointed honorary president of the Library of London, making her the first female president. She's been a member of this institution since 1986. In addition, Helena Bonham Carter opposes the cancel culture, coming to the defense of her former colleagues J.K. Rowling and Johnny Depp. Speaking to The Times in an interview, Bonham Carter said, "It's horrendous, a load of bullshit. I think Rowling has been hounded. It's been taken to the extreme, the judgmentalism of people. She's allowed her opinion, particularly if she's suffered abuse." The star added that everyone has their own opinion on this or that issue, and it's not necessary to agree with everyone in everything because it would be crazy and boring. She also supported the godfather of her children, Johnny Depp, considering the court's decision regarding the drama between him and ex-wife Amber Heard correct. "Oh, I think he's completely vindicated," she said. "I think he's fine now. Totally fine." In 2023, the actress decided to take on a completely different role, the Queen of the Midlands in the new ITV drama Nolly. Noelle Gordon, or Nolly as her friends called her, starred in the hugely popular TV series Crossroads in the 60s and 70s. In a new 3-part drama written by Russell T. Davies, Nolly is shown reeling from the news that her contract has not been renewed after 18 years. Russell T. Davies sent Helena a letter asking her to participate in the project, and she immediately went on YouTube to see who this Nolly was, and then cordially agreed to be a part of her story. And the story of this actress is really full of drama. She was on a soap opera for 19 years, and she was fired publicly without warning for no reason. She was immediately replaced by Gabrielle Drake, who was 30 years younger. Carter doesn't think women should apologize for getting old. The fact that I got the role of Nolly, I was thinking, God, I'm so lucky at my age to get this part, which is frankly, possibly one of the best parts I've ever been offered, and at my age. As for the star herself, she says that aging only made her happier. I'm definitely the cliche of saying I'm miles happier than when I was younger. I don't want to ever go back there. My envelope might be less strictly aesthetically pleasing, but on the inside, I'm much more interesting and dynamic, and I think attractive. Well, as you can see, Helena Bonham Carter never ceases to amaze her fans. She can be refined and simple, clumsy and charming, equally good at playing evil and good witches. Her spontaneity and natural talent help her transform into anyone and become a real decoration of any film. There is something undoubtedly old-fashioned, nostalgic, even sad about her. We hope that we've answered all the questions that you might have about our star today, and we'll be grateful for your like. And if you want to know even more about the iconic Helena, Johnny, Tim trio, you can click on the video that appears on your screen. How did Depp and Burton meet? What do Helena and Johnny have in common? Follow the link and enjoy watching. It was Biographer with you. See you very soon.